Let's talk about American farming, the backbone of the nation, a tradition that has fed not just the country, but the world for generations. Today, that backbone is buckling under a crisis of historic proportions, one that threatens the very core of rural America. As of June 30, 2025, U.S. farm exports have collapsed by 94%, a staggering figure that few could have predicted even in their worst nightmares. This isn't just a dip in the numbers, it's a near-total disappearance of a once mighty export industry. Imagine waking up to find almost all of America's agricultural exports gone overnight, decades of hard work and global relationships erased in a matter of months. This isn't a distant threat or a hypothetical scenario, it's happening right now, in real time, across the heartland. For months, industry leaders and analysts warned that trouble was brewing, but few imagined the fallout would be this severe or this swift. America's ability to sell food to the world has all but shut down, leaving ports and silos eerily quiet. Doors to the biggest markets are slammed shut and the impact is immediate. Shipments halted, contracts voided, and trust broken. For every 100 ships once filled with American crops, 94 are now empty or canceled, leaving docks and workers idle. This is a direct hit on millions of livelihoods: farmers, truckers, port workers, and countless others who depend on the agricultural supply chain. The shockwaves are everywhere: soybeans, pork, hay, lumber, fruit, nuts. Every corner of the industry is affected, from the fields to the factories. Soybean exports have plummeted by 88%, pork orders are canceled, storage facilities are overflowing with unsold goods, exporters are watching their businesses evaporate, forced to lay off workers and shutter operations that have been in families for generations. This is a systemic failure threatening to unravel the fabric of American agriculture, putting entire communities at risk of collapse. The question is, how did it come to this? How did a global leader in food production reach the brink so quickly? The answer lies in a series of policy decisions, trade disputes, and international tensions that have backfired spectacularly, leaving American farmers caught in the crossfire. The collapse isn't just a number, it's a crisis for rural America, where every lost contract means another family on the brink. The scale is unprecedented, and the consequences are only beginning to unfold, with ripple effects that could last for years. The world is watching as the U.S. agricultural powerhouse grinds to a halt, raising questions about food security and global supply chains. The future of American farming hangs in the balance, with uncertainty clouding every decision and every harvest. And the story is just beginning, a story that will shape not only the fate of American agriculture, but the future of food around the world. How did this happen? How did America's heartland, once the breadbasket of the world, end up in crisis? A 94% collapse doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of a chain of decisions, each one tightening the noose a little more. It was built, step by step, through trade disputes and retaliatory tariffs, especially with China. Each round of negotiations seemed to bring more tension, not less. For years, the US and China have traded economic blows, but it's American farmers who've taken the hits. Every new policy, every new tariff, landed hardest on rural America. The SHIPS Act of 2025 was the tipping point. It was supposed to be a show of strength, a way to force China's hand. Instead, it imposed massive new fees, over $1.5 million per vessel, on Chinese-made ships docking at US ports. Suddenly, the cost of doing business skyrocketed. Here's the problem: over half of American farm exports travel on those ships. When those ships stopped coming, so did the buyers. In trying to pressure China, the US government ended up taxing its own farmers. The very people they claimed to protect were left footing the bill. These new port fees stacked on top of existing tariffs, making American goods uncompetitive. Exporters watched as contracts dried up and markets disappeared. China's 10% tariff on US soybeans was already a killer. The SHIPS Act made it worse. Farmers who once shipped millions of tons now faced empty silos and mounting debt. Farmers were forced to compete with both hands tied behind their backs. They watched as their livelihoods slipped away, powerless to stop it. The policy was meant to show strength, but it backfired, crippling the very industry it was supposed to protect. The unintended consequences were swift and severe. Exporters and farmers aren't collateral damage, they're the primary casualties. Their voices were drowned out by political rhetoric. Decades of hard work and investment are vanishing because of decisions made in Washington. Generations of family farms are at risk of disappearing forever. This wasn't a natural disaster, it was a policy choice. A crisis created not by drought or flood, but by pen and paper. The result, Empty fields, silent ports, and a crisis that could have been avoided. The ripple effects are being felt in every rural community. The SHIPS Act and ongoing tariffs have turned a trade dispute into an agricultural catastrophe. What began as a political maneuver has become a national emergency. The damage is self-inflicted, and the consequences are devastating. Rural economies are unraveling, and hope is in short supply. American agriculture is reeling, and the world is moving on. Other countries are stepping in to fill the gap while U.S. farmers are left behind. The question now, can it recover? Or is this the end of an era for America's farmers? So, with China not buying American farm goods, are they going hungry? Not even close. In fact, China's appetite for agricultural imports is as strong as ever, but they're simply shopping elsewhere. As the world's second-largest economy, China has options, and they've used them. Their markets are bustling, shelves are stocked, and their supply chains are humming along, just with different partners. China didn't stop buying soybeans, they just stopped buying from the US. Instead, they redirected their massive demand to other countries, leaving American exports sitting idle. Brazil stepped in, seizing the opportunity to dominate the global soybean market. Brazilian farmers ramped up production, and ports worked overtime to meet China's needs. By May, China was sourcing 70% of its soybeans from Brazil, a massive shift that's reshaping the entire industry. This isn't just a blip, it's a new normal. Brazil is ramping up production, ready to export an extra 20 million metric tons by September. Their agricultural sector is booming, fueled by China's insatiable demand. This isn't a temporary change, it's a fundamental realignment of global trade. Shipping routes, contracts, and supply chains are all being rewritten in real time. The same story is playing out with pork and other products. China cancels US orders, and other countries fill the gap. European and South American producers are stepping up, eager to claim their share. Every lost US contract is a win for a competitor. The global marketplace is quick to adapt, and rivals are more than willing to take America's place. By making American goods more expensive and harder to ship, the US has handed its market share to rivals. These changes ripple through entire communities, affecting jobs and local economies. Years of building trust and relationships with international buyers are being undone in months. The foundation of decades-long partnerships is crumbling, replaced by uncertainty. Once China reconfigures its supply chains, it will be nearly impossible for US farmers to win back that business. Even if tariffs disappear, the logistics, contracts, and trust will have moved on. This isn't just about lost sales in 2025, it's about losing the future. The long-term consequences could reshape American agriculture for generations. The competition isn't just winning, they're rewriting the rules. New trade deals are being inked, and new leaders are emerging on the world stage. American farmers are watching their biggest market slip away. For many, it's not just a business loss, it's a personal and community crisis. The global agricultural landscape is shifting, and the US is being left behind. Other nations are thriving, while American fields grow quiet. The damage to America's reputation as a reliable supplier may be permanent. Once trust is lost, it's incredibly hard to regain. The world is moving on, and the US must adapt or be left out. The choices made now will determine the future of American farming. The stakes couldn't be higher. For American farmers, the next chapter is uncertain, and the world is watching to see what happens next. Behind the numbers are real people facing daily heartbreak. A hay exporter in Washington laid off a quarter of their workforce after shipments stalled. Grass seed exporters saw Chinese customers cancel orders with little notice. Lumber exporters watched prices drop 20% overnight. 6,000 tons of wood pulp orders vanished, pork deals were canceled. Farmers now face a massive surplus at home, driving prices down even further. The emotional toll is crushing. Years of work undone by forces beyond their control. It's not just about money. It's about sleepless nights, lost jobs, and broken dreams. The crisis is personal, immediate, and devastating for rural families. Every canceled order is another blow to communities already on the edge. This is the human cost of the collapse. With exports gone, the law of supply and demand takes over. American crops are piling up, but buyers are scarce, prices are crashing. Soybean futures have dropped below $9 per bushel, corn and wheat are at historic lows. For many, it now costs more to grow crops than they can sell them for. Family farms that survived generations are now facing extinction. Every sale is a loss, every harvest a financial risk. Loans can't be repaid, equipment can't be upgraded, and the future is on hold. The dream of passing the farm to the next generation is slipping away. This isn't just a market fluctuation, it's a fight for survival. Rural America is on the brink. Tariffs and low prices aren't the only problems. Shipping is in chaos. Fewer Chinese imports mean fewer ships and containers at U.S. ports. Vessel traffic from China is down 44%. Blanked sailings are the new normal. Exporters are left stranded, unable to move their goods. The Port of Oakland, a key hub, is warning of job losses and economic pain. The SHIPS Act's massive fees are the final blow, making shipping unaffordable. Even with buyers, there's no way to get products overseas. The logistical breakdown is the last straw for many in the industry. The crisis doesn't stop at the farm, it ripples through entire communities. When farmers can't spend, local businesses suffer. Stores, mechanics, diners, equipment dealers, trucking companies, warehouses, and manufacturers are all feeling the pain. Local governments lose tax revenue, forcing cuts to schools and services. The collapse accelerates the decline of rural America. Young people leave, towns shrink. The closure of a family farm can mean the end of a community. This is more than an economic crisis, it's a threat to a way of life. The stakes are generational. Farmers and exporters aren't staying silent, they're demanding action. Their top plea-exempt agricultural exports from the SHIPS Act's crippling port fees. They argue these fees hurt Americans, not China. The broader call is for a de-escalation of the trade war and a return to stable, open markets. The uncertainty is unbearable. They need a level playing field, not special treatment. The message is clear: stop the bleeding before it's too late. The future of American agriculture depends on it. As June ends, Washington's response is silence. No new aid, no rescue plan. The hope for a quick fix is gone. Recovery will be long and uncertain. Scrapping the SHIPS Act's port fees for agriculture is the first step. Reopening trade with China is essential, but will require humility and negotiation. Long-term, American agriculture must diversify. Relying on one market is too risky. Building new trade relationships will take years, not months. Innovation and higher value products are key to future competitiveness. Trust must be rebuilt, and policy must change. The hope is that this crisis sparks a smarter, more resilient industry. For now, rural America is just hoping to survive long enough to see that future.